Imagine a political party that is a party, the rock and roll party. On the left, you can see the front cover of the book. It says, Imagine the Rock and Roll Party in coalition with the Worldwide Fair Play for Frogs Committee, or the short title, There's More to the New Age Than Parking on the Front Row. And on the right is the back cover, which is from the Frog Castle Free Press. It says, It was a simpler time. It was morning in America. The Reagan Revolution was underway. Near a small pond in northern New Mexico, a restless remnant of the flower generation would rise up under the political banner of rock and roll, join with the liberal Eastern group of creative frog supporters to call for a revolution against the great tyrant of self-limitation. Armed with the dreams of John Lennon's Imagine and the ideas of Wayne Dyer's The Sky's the Limit, they began their quest for a healing frog castle and world peace. With creativity and humor ranging from the sublime to the inane, they took their tasks seriously, deploying the Magic Nation in every campaign, yet constantly flanked and hounded by self-indulgence and delusion. From the high spiritual good to the basis of human defects, this odyssey leaves no stone unturned and makes no turn unstoned. You are invited to laugh at the antics, marvel at the insight, share the struggle of growing pain, cringe with the embarrassment of the blunders, applaud the in-your-face honesty, be disgusted by the arrogance and insensitivity, and touched by the caring and sharing. So come along and revisit a movement so far out ahead of its time, it could only safely be released in the naughties. It was an atmosphere of feel-good politics. It's morning again in America, Ronald Reagan told us. With government abandoning social and environmental responsibility to market forces and returning to a fear-based support of the industrial military complex, financed by record deficit spending, that a fateful conversation took place between myself and Jessie, who worked at the New Age bookstore called The Voice of the Turtle. I was there buying an astrology book, and we chatted for a while. She told me of her dream to build a luxury tea house for common people. Not to be outdone, I told her my dream was to start a political party, the rock and roll party. I thought I was joking, just trying to be funny, yet the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. And you can tell I'm not much of an artist. There was my intention to make a letterhead for the rock and roll party. Rock and roll party, new wave politics, self-rule, headquarters, T.C. Townsend, voice of solutions to Harrison Smith, my man in the Senate. He was an Apollo astronaut and came to New Mexico and became the senator. What had become of my generation? I longed for the connection I had felt when it was cool to question the disconnect between the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and the reality of ethnic, gender, and cultural oppression, not to mention world domination by the military industrial complex. Had we all chosen to join the disconnect, or had we simply dropped out? What if there were a way to come together to support a national global shift to a united world focused on individual rights and prosperity for all? Or could we perhaps just party for the higher good of all? I decided to find out what it would take to create a political party. Here I am with Ranger Freeman. I called myself the Cosmos back then. I began to busy myself with the campaigning for the Rock and Roll Party. Campaigning consisted mainly of getting high with my friends and contemplating possibilities for the party, indulging in the retro hangover from the 60s when we thought we were going to change the world. As I saw it, assassination had robbed us of our leaders, Abraham, Martin, and John, and Bobby. There was a song about that. We were a sad generation. The mainstream majority of voters chose leaders who lied to us. Tricky did. Drugs were taking us from enlightenment to entrapment, mass incarceration. When it arose, Watergate investigation was a welcome but momentary reprieve from the power for power's sake. Carter had appeared to offer change from the political status quo, only to have his good intentions labeled as weakness and consumed by politics of dependence on foreign energy. All the while, rock and roll had continued to beat out the truth, keeping the faith. It had shined light in the darkness of human depravity and reached for the glow of universal truth in dark times, in an ongoing celebration of the duality of our nature. Concert shows rock and roll is the dead. Bob Weir sings and plays. I was there. I had often pondered how blessed I felt that rock and roll had come into existence while I was on the planet. I was grateful to rock and roll. The music, the energy, the words, and freeform style, not only for changing a generation, but for playing a major role in my transformation from a rigidly conservative small town Southern boy into a man living in the land of enchantment and considering the possibilities of peace, love, and brotherhood on a global scale. The Rock and Roll Party needed a manifesto that would embody the vision of personal and global transformation. There were millions of people still connected by the music. I pressed my friend Tom, the writer, to come up with something on paper. My inability to motivate him led me to a reality check. I could not expect others to create from ideas in my head. In a flash of insight, I saw that the ideas I wanted the party to espouse were already written all over rock and roll songs. As I was accepting this reality, it occurred to me that John Lennon had already written a manifesto years before in his song Imagine. The manifesto of the Rock and Roll Party. Manifesto. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. Thanks, John Lennon.